Hello, I'm Dan Ware, and this is Frankly Franklin, the program where we talk about Frankly Franklin. And we have people who live here now, have lived here, and today I have a mix of two. You know, it's May, it's graduation time. When this program airs, many of you will be making plans to attend the graduation at Franklin-Simpson High School. And later in this program, we'll be meeting the valedictorian and the salutatorian of the class of 2002. But first, we're going to stroll down memory lane. And I'm going to be talking with two members of the class of 1952. I have with me today Dr. John Kelly, who lives here in Franklin, and Mr. Charles Oliver, who graduated with John in '52, but since then he's lived in several other states. He'll be telling us a little bit about that as we go along. But I'm going to begin, gentlemen, by asking you a question you can't answer. Does it really seem like 50 years since you graduated from high school? Either one.
I'd say yes and no. It seems like it's gone by awfully fast, but when you look back on it, it's taken a pretty long time to go awfully fast. So, for whatever that means.
It took a long time to go awfully fast.
You said we could.
I like that, John. I like that. All right. What's your perspective, Charles?
When you look in the mirror, it's definitely 50 years. Even sometimes when you look at some classmates 50 years ago. But when you just close your eyes and think about it, no, it doesn't seem like 50 years at all.
You mentioned classmates. Do you all have reunions fairly often? Do you see other people in the class of 52? Have you seen them much over the last 50 years?
Every 5 years, in the past 25 years, we've had a class reunion.
Okay.
And the attendance has been really excellent.
Okay.
That reminds me of a quick little story. When we graduated, we went to New Orleans on our senior trip.
Okay.
And coming back between Portland and Franklin, we were on a train, and everything was going fine. So we had our final class meeting of that year. So we decided that time that we would have a reunion the next year, 1 year.
Okay.
So we did. So the next year we had our first year reunion, and really not all that much had changed. Some things had nobody looked any different on that.
Right.
So that night we decided that we would never have another reunion by class vote. It didn't pass. So we went 24 more years before we had one.
You had your next.
So we had
right.
1 year and then the 25th. Now we have them every 5 years.
All right. You say you have pretty good attendance at those. How big was the class of 52? Do you remember
63.
How many? 63. Okay. I don't know the exact number of the classes graduating now, but it's more like 160.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Did you feel like you knew everybody? And were there cliques? I mean, you know, when I was in school, you had this little group and this little group, and there were fewer of you, but did you kind of divide up into little social groups or whatever?
I think there were cliques, but not as much as maybe classes before us. And this is just my opinion, I'm not sure. But then there was kind of a pulling together, too. We had cliques, and yet everyone knew everyone else. Now, there were a few people in the class who hardly ever participated in anything. I would say any divisions in our class probably were based on city-country. Wouldn't you, John? Because, see, the schools had not been consolidated very long.
Right.
When we graduated, about 6 years, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 8. But there was still a little bit of this country-city. If you call Franklin a city at that time.
Yeah, but
Right.
Town versus
town
farm.
country.
Yeah, okay.
And we all knew each other, though. I mean, the cliques are, like Charles said, it's not what I'd call a cliquish clique. It was just little differences of opinions and things like that.
Well, tell me about your graduation. The graduation this time, they plan to have it out in the stadium. The stadium we've got now wasn't there when you guys graduated, so where did they hold your graduation?
The Goodnight Library
Goodnight,
building
in the auditorium.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
I remember the night it was hot in there. Oh, people were fanning all over the place.
It wasn't air conditioned
It was
then.
packed, right. Of course, it looks much smaller now than it did then. But, thought it was a big building then.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you all had a commencement and a baccalaureate. You probably went there twice.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, now they just have the one,
Yeah.
the one program. Well, you all graduated 18 years old, probably thought you knew about everything there was to know. Now it's 50 years later. Life turned out the way you thought it would when you were 18?
Dan, mine went pretty much the way I had planned it, except for one thing. When I was a senior in school, high school, I really didn't know whether I wanted to study medicine or dentistry, because my dad had been a dentist, and he had actually advised me to go into medicine. And so I said, well, I'll think about that. But after I got in my first year of college at the University of Kentucky, I decided pretty soon that I knew I needed to kind of make up my mind what I wanted to do, even though the courses were basically the same for the first couple of years.
Okay.
Then I decided on dentistry, and I thought I'd go to the University of Louisville, which I did for dental school, and I thought I'd come back to Franklin, which I did. And I didn't think I'd have 5 boys at the time, but but there's little surprises along the way.
Right, right. Okay, what about you, Charles?
Well, I had wanted to be a teacher since I was 4 or 5 years old. I visited school one day with my older brother, came home, said, I want to be a teacher when I grow up. And they always encouraged that, the parents had. I did change areas. I thought at first I wanted to be a history teacher. I always really enjoyed history. But in college, I changed my mind and changed to English. Now, part of that, I guess, could be on blamed on my old high school English teacher, Miss Annie K. Gill.
Okay.
Miss Gill was, I thought she was great. I think most people did, although we had our little, we said things about her that were unkind, but we never would have said them to her face. But in calling her Granny Gill, for example. But
she probably knew. You didn't
I'm
say
sure
it, but she probably knew.
She knew most of what was going on. And I knew that I would have to leave home to go to college. And so from there, I went to the most convenient, had friends from Simpson County who were administrators and teachers at Troy State University in Alabama. It wasn't a university then, it was a teacher's college, but it's now a university. So for convenience sake, I went there, and because it was inexpensive and I could manage that. So that's what happened to me, and that's one reason I really left Simpson County. I came back to find my wife, though.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Was she a classmate?
Married the girl next door.
The girl next door.
Girl
Oh,
next
that's
door.
nice.
No, she's a little bit younger than I am.
Well, now, John has mentioned that he returned to Franklin to practice dentistry, and as far as I know, that's the only community that you've worked in your career.
Sure.
But now you've worked in several different states, Charles?
I taught first in Alabama because I went to school in Alabama. I graduated in the middle of it was on the quarter system, and I graduated in March.
Okay.
So there was an emergency need for an English teacher in Eufaula, Alabama, so I took that job. After Eufaula, I came back to Kentucky, and I taught in Scottsville for 2 years at Allen County High School. And I taught in Lewisburg, Kentucky, Logan County, for 1 year. That school is now consolidated, I think. I
think that's right. Logan
Lewisburg
County
is
is consolidated.
Right. After that, I went into employment counseling and worked for the state of Kentucky in Bowling Green at the employment office there, and then transferred to Los Angeles, California. I worked in East Los Angeles during the riots in East Los Angeles. But I had no problems at all. I never learned Spanish, but that was an exciting time, and really, I hope, did some really good work in East Los Angeles.
When you lived in California, did people come up to you and say, hey, you're not from here? Did they pick up on your Kentucky accent?
Yes. except we lived in a Mexican-American community, and the people there are so much like Kentuckians. I'm serious.
Really?
Gracious, friendly, welcoming people. And they paid very little attention to our accents, but it was mentioned sometimes.
Okay, one of you came back to Franklin, one of you went elsewhere. Of those 63 or whatever, did more of them go away for their careers or come back home?
I expect more of them went away.
I think more.
Yeah.
You almost had to in those days. See, there was no industry in Franklin. So if you were going to, and professional people, doctors, dentists, lawyers, and teachers were all there was. So you almost had to go away to get your degree, and then there wasn't always an opening if you wanted to come back.
There were a lot of Franklin graduates back then that migrated to Indianapolis looking for work.
Well, I used to work at the radio station here, and one of the things that we would do would be to read obituaries. And I remember a lot of Franklin natives, and it would say of Bucyrus, Ohio.
Oh, yes, yes.
Why Bucyrus, Ohio?
I don't know why that particular town, but they must have been welcoming to Kentuckians. I don't know.
I don't know why.
I don't know why, but Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois.
Generally a northward migration and probably to larger cities.
In fact, our preacher one Sunday said, this was when I was a teenager, said there used to be only 2 places to go, now there are 3. Heaven, hell, and Indianapolis.
Which is somewhere in between. Well, talking about leaving and going to the city, the population of Franklin 50 years ago was, I would assume, smaller than it is now. You come back every 5 years, you've been here. What differences do each of you see in the town where you graduated from high school as time has gone by?
Well, to me, there's been a lot of growth, even though population-wise it probably hadn't been that much. It probably hadn't been over maybe 3,000 people in 50 years as far as the population of the town. Of course, as you expand and all your the population will grow. But it's just more like a little city. I mean, it's once the fast food places start taking over and the Walmarts and things like that, eventually small towns get them, and once you get them, and you're just like the big towns. So I think it's just what I'd consider normal growth. Franklin's a good town. It's a good place to live, good place to be, and has a lot to offer. And being between Nashville and Bowling Green, it makes it very nice also.
There's a little time between your visits. Did you notice big changes?
I come back more than just every 5 years because it's fairly close to Lafayette. And my wife still has relatives here. I have no relatives here. But only from a personal standpoint, it bothers me to see downtown Franklin many of the stores closed. Some of them seem to be falling apart. The second stories all look deserted. I don't know if they're used for storage or what.
And there were offices in those buildings when you guys were in school?
Many of them,
I don't know, maybe even apartments. I don't know what they were before, but they were occupied.
Well, tell me a little bit about the campus. You said your graduation ceremony was held at the Goodnight Auditorium, but was the high school up here on the hill at the end of College Street then, or was it down where the 6th grade center was the last thing that was in there, the old county high school building?
North Main,
which
was originally
so
old
you talk about fast
Franklin-Simpson.
food, the place across from Wendy's.
It was
have
Simpson,
people watching. That school building. That was your high school building.
Yeah, that was old Simpson County High. That's where it was built there.
But with integration, it was Franklin-Simpson.
After consolidation and all, then they turned out to be the 10th, 11th, and 12th grades for us.
Okay.
So we had the division of junior high 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
And it was really divided. We actually had a 9th grade graduation.
Now the 7, 8, 9
at the junior high, which was old Franklin High School.
Right. Right.
Before that, it was some female college or something, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's where the middle school is
That's where the
today.
middle school is
So
now.
that was a junior high then.
That was
Right.
7th, 8th, and 9th. And
Okay.
all the county grade schools in Franklin, they would all come together in the
Okay.
7th grade. That's when,
In fact, we had to be transported from the junior high to the senior high school on North Main when we were in 9th grade in order to take first year Latin.
yeah.
We rode a bus to
Okay, just from one school.
just for 1 hour.
For that class, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, is everything in that one building that is still standing today, or were there other structures as part of the campus?
Had a Quonset hut for the band,
Yeah.
I remember, but I don't know of any other outside buildings.
We'd practice basketball and football up at where the regular camp, where it is now,
Right.
basically, in there. Even though they had a gym out there, but that's not where we practiced. They just had PE classes and all that there.
Okay.
So any of that, they had to transport us by bus there. And then most of the time, we'd leave from up there. They wouldn't take us back when after school was out. We'd find our own way home.
So the football stadium was where the junior high was?
The football stadium, yeah,
It's always been there, right?
Yeah, it's well, the football stadium now is different from where it was.
Yeah, right.
Back when we played, they had a bus garage there, and behind the bus garage, and also it's where the old Franklin Reds baseball team played years ago. That was that's where they played, and that was the only field at the time.
Had a wooden fence around it, didn't
Well, it actually got concrete block at one time. After
Oh.
that, it had wooden a long time ago.
it? Okay.
But they had a concrete block fence around it that one.
But the grandstand where people sat,
The
wasn't
reason
that wood?
yeah, the
Okay.
grandstand was wood.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason I know it's a concrete fence because I saw a guy run into it one
No,
time.
yeah, I guess so.
He remembered it real well.
Yeah. Well, you played a couple of sports when
Yeah.
you were in high school. Tell me a little bit about athletics back in the early 50s.
Well, back then, of course, we didn't have near as many boys as you got now. So you had fewer people playing more ball in different positions, offense and defense, rather than specialize and things of that nature. They didn't practice or make a year-round sport out of things back then as much as they do now, which incidentally I think it's better the old way. I think sometimes you can over-practice kids too much,
Right.
but that's just my opinion. But back then we were very competitive with Bowling Green and Russellville, and that hadn't changed too much. Several teams down in Nashville played us in football and beat the fire out of us. I remember that.
That hadn't
pretty
changed too
well.
much either.
Hadn't changed too much either. No. We were, we had representative teams. I think the student body enjoyed us, and we made some runs. We beat Bowling Green one year, which was a big upset, and we played in the finals of the region one year when that was kind of an upset. Auburn beat us in the finals of the region. They had a real good team. And we had a golf team, played golf, and had a baseball team. And I didn't play baseball, but played golf, and just the general things. Had track and field. So, and of course, back then the girls didn't play. That's a big difference too. They didn't have
There
teams.
were no
there was no girls
athletics,
teams.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that made a big difference from overall sport.
Well, now, don't be offended if I've got this wrong, but when I think of the 50s and football, I think of Y.E. Tittle and leather helmets. But am I too far back? Are you...
No, maybe a little bit far back in the leather helmets,
Yeah.
but we didn't have the leather helmets, but also we didn't have face masks either.
Oh, okay.
And I've got many a bloody nose to back that statement up.
Yeah.
But they started to come in about that time. I remember Bill Gillespie. He was a couple years behind me, but he had to wear glasses when he played, and he was one of the first ones in Franklin to wear a shield over that, and that was to protect his glasses, not his any broken bones.
Right, right, yeah. Well, the stadium where we play football now is named Hugh Crowdis Field. Was he a part of the faculty when you guys were there?
Junior high faculty when we were there, right?
He was part of the junior high faculty, and he was also one of our main junior high coaches. And then he moved right on up, and he was one of our coaches all the way through.
Okay.
He was Jim Omey's assistant, and even when Bob Brown came, he assisted for a while. So Mr. Crowder was just involved in athletics, and especially in junior high school. I mean, of course, Mr. Crowder taught at junior high, and he taught there, and they were there all the time. They were regulars at junior high school. They were both really nice people.
You mentioned Jim Ownby as the football coach, and you mentioned that game against Bowling Green. I know Jim, before he passed away, he would tell a story about getting ready for that Bowling Green game in, I guess, 51, after a somewhat humiliating defeat in 50. You would have been on that team. Just tell me a little bit about how you got ready for that great match.
they beat us my junior year 65-0. Came down to Franklin and just stomped us and ran us in the ground, and kind of halfway laughed about it. But it made Mr. Ownby pretty mad. And so that was on a Friday night, and starting on Monday, 2 days later or 3 days later, he came out and he said, "We're going to start practicing for Bowling Green today." And he put in what they call this O formation, which basically was just an unbalanced line and a little different setup in the backfield. But every day, let's just say if we were going to play Providence, we would practice for Providence, but at the last 30 minutes of every practice, we'd run this O formation and start practicing for Bowling Green.
Saving that formation until next.
Yeah, we did that, and just about every practice we ended up practicing about 15 to 20 minutes on that and for Bowling Green. And sure enough, when
paid off, huh?
when we played them that night, they were totally confused. They never did balance their defensive line. There was a hole really wide every time we ran the ball.
And I'm sure, unlike Bowling Green, after you all won, you were good sportsmen and didn't laugh or.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Charles, did a lot of the people who didn't play athletics go to the games? Was that kind of a social thing to go to football or basketball games?
I think there was pretty good attendance. Now, I live 10 miles out in the country, and I went to most of the games, at least in a junior and senior year. I'm not sure about earlier, I don't remember, but I'm not qualified to say whether most people went or not, but I think several did.
It's pretty much now then like it was now. If you're winning and start to win, the crowd picks up and the interest picks up, and if you're not, it has a tendency to fall down a little bit.
Well, you mentioned band in the Quonset hut. What were some of the other extracurricular activities that were available to you other than athletics or band? Did you have clubs and things like that?
We had in-school clubs. We had there was letter club.
Yeah, we had plays. Had a big play every year.
Plays. And press club. We had a newspaper.
And I think most of that is pretty much the same, except we didn't have any like academic real teams, special teams for academics and things of that nature. But we had quite a few.
Most of them were conducted during school hours, though, because it was difficult to get people together after school or anything other than
Did
school.
most everybody either ride the bus or walk, or did high school kids have cars?
Not too many back then. Not too
I
many.
don't remember anyone really who had his very own car to use.
No, I don't
A
either.
lot of kids had parents' car to use when they needed to.
Yeah.
And I think one fellow had a motorcycle, but I'm not
Who was it? I don't.
Larry Biggs? Did Larry Biggs have a motorcycle?
Yeah, I believe it did. I'll have to ask you that next time I see him. I forgot about that, but I believe.
I'm not sure.
I believe it did.
I think he did.
Not many had their own cars. Remember, I'm like Charles. I don't really remember any that had their own car, but they could use. Most of them could use their parents if they
Well,
needed
now,
something special.
I'm sure both of you fellows were quite popular with the ladies.
Oh yeah.
So you wanted to borrow Dad's car? All right. Well, if Dad would let you take the car, then where would you take the girls? What were
To
the
the
hangouts?
prom.
Well,
that's
you're getting private now. We're not supposed to.
I'm trying to make some notes here.
Do you want to know the details about Keaton's Mill or what?
Hey,
I tell you
I'm
one
here
thing.
to listen, whatever you want to tell me.
One thing we used to do down at what's the music room, or still the main room down in the library down there. We used to have a lot of dances
Really?
down there. I mean, quite often. And then we used to go to McFarland's in Bowling Green, Larry, and go to Beach Bend, you know, quite a bit. McFarland's more so than Beach Bend. And you're talking about like going to Nashville at all. Well, I personally didn't do this until I graduated from high school, but between graduating from high school and college starting, there was a place called the Celtic Room down in Nashville that played. That's where Papa John Gordon and the Dixieland Band was. And we got every Monday night we'd go down there and listen to Papa John Gordon play Dixieland music. That was real popular back then.
What did you all collect records? Who were some of the musicians? Did you all realize this was the beginning of the rock and roll era? Or?
I remember Bobby Cook Grogan was hooked on, what was the guy that Arthur Godfrey fired from it? Thought I would remember. Julius LaRosa.
Yeah, LaRosa.
Julius LaRosa. She had his records. That was really a little before rock and roll.
Yeah.
See,
I
ours
think
was
like
more,
Bill Haley and the Comets, and that
no,
was 50.
even that came along about 54, I think.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it kind of burst suddenly on the scene.
When I was the big band era, was that still going, or did that pretty
It
much
was still,
played out?
we were kind of beyond that too, though. In other words, that was not our kind of music, was it?
No. You know, really, I remember Nat King Cole
Yeah.
more than most of them, and whoever his contemporaries were.
Well, Frank Sinatra
Right,
too.
Frank
was,
Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and
right.
Perry Como. He was there one year. I don't know where he was.
Yeah,
He was
I think
singing.
so.
The dances you talked about, John, there would be a live band, I assume. See, now kids
No,
use a DJ.
no,
you play records.
no, we just play records.
Right.
Matter of fact, they had a jukebox down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
At the library?
they had one all the time. You'd put your nickels in it. And,
Did we call them sock hops? I guess
we
they
said-
would now. wouldn't
yeah,
they? Sock
Did you take your shoes off?
hops.
sometimes.
Of course,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
my grandchildren think we didn't have shoes back then, so I guess we
Well, I'm
did.
intrigued about Peden's Mill. Was that the parking
Oh,
spot?
now
Is
wait,
that where you went to park?
That was just a name that popped out of nowhere. I don't know.
Because in my day, it was on the west side of the county, the gravel road there. But what was when I was in high school, and I was a little behind you fellas, we didn't have McDonald's yet. We had the Frosty Freeze, and we had Hutch's Hut. Do you guys have the sweet shop? Or
Sweet
what were
shop.
the
They had
hangouts?
sweet
What were the
shop.
hangouts?
That was
The
the main
sweet shop.
place. The sweet shop
Well,
was
tell
the
me
main place.
about the sweet shop.
Well, it was nice. Mr. Leon Page and his brother Ben ran it, and they had real good food and good milkshakes and all. And a lot of times you'd go down there after school, get you a milkshake or Coke or something, and they had the jukeboxes where you could, play music and listen to it where you wanted to. And it was, it was just the main place really. Every once in a while you'd find some of the boys would go to the pool room, should have given them pool. And other than that, at night sometimes there's, I can't remember the name of it, but some little restaurants, up and down both sides of Main Street where you go get something to eat after a movie or something like that.
What about movie theaters?
We had two movie theaters.
The
Now-
Roxy and the Liberty, yeah.
Now, one of them, you almost took your life in your own hands.
That was the Liberty.
Okay.
Rat Haven. But
Oh, my.
but the Roxy was really nice. Now, I was a movie freak. I went to the movies. In fact, I have a large collection of old 40s and 50s movies.
Okay.
As a direct result of going to see Sunset Carson on Saturday at the Roxy,
So you kind of a regular for the
Oh,
Saturday
yeah,
matinee?
yeah. In fact, I worked at school. They gave a merit card every 6 weeks, and it gave you a free pass to the movies for 6 weeks if you had the highest grade in your class or whatever.
Yeah.
And boy, I struggled for those things. So I wanted those movie
Wanted to
passes.
go. Yeah.
And we had a drive-in, but now we didn't go to the drive-in much, did we? I don't
I was
remember.
trying to think what year that they opened that drive-in. I don't remember going to drive-in too often either.
I'm not.
It's because we didn't have cars.
Didn't have anything to drive in.
Nothing to drive in, right?
That's right.
Well, what did it cost to go to the Roxy or the Liberty?
10 or 15 cents, but it wasn't much.
I believe now 25 cents was the maximum, except for some special movies that came out, like I remember one, Duel in the Sun in 1946, $1.25. And you had to really, really dig to come up with that.
Popcorn was what, 10 cents or 15?
Yeah,
It wasn't
right.
much. You get those little sacks by like
What about the swimming pool? That had been built by that time, hadn't it?
52 is when the swimming
52.
pool came along.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the year you all, so you didn't get to swim there much then.
Not much.
I think it opened in the summer
Yeah.
after we graduated.
It
Now,
did.
didn't the vice president come to the
Vice
dedication?
President Barkley came
Were
down,
you all
right?
in the crowd that day? Did you see the vice president? Or?
I was playing golf that day. And
Some things never change.
I was playing with Paul James. Bless
My
his heart, he's
parents
dead.
didn't want to fight the crowds because they knew, and they promised to take us swimming at a pool in Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee, which is where I have lived now for a long time. I don't live there now, I live in Lafayette. But anyway, and we went there, but that pool had been closed for about 20 years, so I didn't get to go swimming that day.
Before ours opened, we either had to go to Western or Beach Bend or Dunbar Cave. Went over Dunbar Cave. It was real nice over there. Went over quite often for that. But that's the only 3 pools really in this whole area that I can remember.
You mentioned a senior trip. They don't do that anymore.
It may have been because of our class.
The emergency cord pulled on the Hummingbird might have been.
So you took the train.
Yeah, it was
from
great.
Franklin?
Yeah, they stopped. And they had the band there and everything. It's a big deal when you know you get a whole class on a train, and you know we'd worked and done things and raised money for everybody so everybody could go, and there wasn't anybody left out. And what did we stay in the St. Charles Hotel or
Yes, St. Charles Hotel.
down there, and then ate in some nice places. Went out to Lake Pontchartrain and went down to the French Quarters, and it was just real nice. Really, really.
A lot of the high school kids today have jobs, and they have cars, so they got to make money to keep up with their
Right.
cars.
Right.
Did a lot of the kids in your graduating class have after-school jobs, or not so many?
I think some did. I don't remember. Of course, now many of the farm
Farmer,
people
yeah.
worked on the farm, so they couldn't have a job.
Yeah, most all the
I
farm
Well, they
guess.
had a
boys.
job, they just,
Yeah.
That's right.
they got fed, they didn't get money, maybe.
Right.
But
Most
yeah.
all the farm boys
Right.
went straight home and went to work on the farm.
Mhm. Did you take any, other than that senior trip, any field trips? You get to go to any conventions in
We went
Louisville
to
or anything?
Club conventions like the Beta
Beta
Club,
Club,
I
yeah.
remember, Beta Club
Louisville
conventions.
to Beta's convention.
And we had entertainment type trips to Nashville, usually to the Ryman Auditorium
Yeah.
to see plays.
So Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember Harvey. Did
Yeah,
you
Harvey,
see
yeah,
Harvey?
sure did.
The,
The rabbit.
the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did. I remember Oklahoma and Harvey, those two. I don't know whether I always saw or not.
And the Barretts of Wimple Street, I remember
I
that.
don't recall that.
Well, let's talk for a second about the academics. I'm sure you had the core classes, the basic skills. You had English and you had math. And now the high schools offer several types of electives, you know, foreign languages, and there's a vocational class offerings. There are business classes. Did you guys have all that when you were there?
We had a choice. If you took Latin, you couldn't take agriculture, or at least not at the same time. Now, I don't remember. I know I quickly chose Latin.
Yeah.
But Latin was our only foreign language, and I think we had to choose between Latin and agriculture. If you didn't take agriculture, you took Latin, and vice versa. I'm not sure.
They
That
had
was
some
for
business
boys.
courses. They,
Okay.
I mean, typing and some
Right.
some minor of business, but we all could take typing and I think the biggest difference, obvious, between today's world and our world was the computer thing. I mean, like I am a complete computer illiterate.
I am also.
And I never thought of myself as being dumb, but I can't figure those things out.
Yeah.
And now, my 12-year-old grandson, he just zips through it. They all do it. Now that's been a big difference, I think.
Well, other than computers, once you got to college, did you feel like you were pretty well prepared by your high school?
That was always interesting to me. I was afraid that I wouldn't be, but once I got there, I found out I was in better shape than most people. And I'm not bragging on myself. I'm saying I was amazed to find that people who had gone to larger high schools and had a wider choice of things to take, I did just as well as they did.
I personally thought that I was extremely well prepared in math and English, and which were always the two most important things to me.
Right.
I personally was not all that well prepared in my science courses, my chemistry and my physics, and I didn't have too much trouble with physics, but chemistry did cause me some trouble, to the extent that I got to take it over one semester up at UK. But I had to get a better grade in going to dental school. So, and after that time, I never had any more trouble. But I just had never really learned the foundation of it, and that could have been my fault. I don't know, but I wasn't the only one from Franklin that had that.
Well, now, Charles, you taught English.
Right.
John's been known to write a little poetry. Would you give me a little critique of John Kelly as a poet?
Hey, he wrote our class
Oh,
poem.
yeah?
Yeah.
You mean you've gone into poetry now? I thought I was the poet.
You are.
You were the
I'm into.
athlete. I was the poet.
I'm into little funny things. Nothing serious.
You give me some.
Charles wrote our class poem.
Do you still know it? Do you remember some lines from it?
I remember. I incorporated the class motto into the poem: "Make the most of all that comes, and the least of all that goes. Seek not only pleasures wasteful, while life's untasted cup o'erflows." So, a bit Shakespearean there, but anyway.
Well, on that note, of course, I guess we could construe that life advice for any class, but the class of 2002, you guys have any advice you'd want to give those folks based on 50 years worth of life experience?
To me, it'd be a little late for the class of 2002, but I would say starting in junior high, learn your English and learn your math. I still think, and one thing that I'd like that I've never seen, I might not even be able to do it. I think schools ought to teach speed reading to anybody that's capable of catching on to it. I think that could be very, very, very valuable to everybody.
Right.
In there, and I've never seen it taught anywhere other than something special. But I've often wondered why they didn't.
Well, you put it out there now.
Well, now
it's that'll see it. So we'll see what happens.
If I could advise anyone, I would say don't pay attention to old codgers like us who say it was better then, because it wasn't. It's better now than it was then. Now, I enjoyed every minute of it, loved school. I used to play well to go to school instead of sick to stay home. But things are better now than they were then. They have many more opportunities. As far as the administration of the school system, I would advise that they offer Latin again. I see no reason in studying Spanish and French when you can get basically the same thing with 2 years of Latin, and then you're open to all languages.
Okay, there you have it. Speed reading and Latin. So
Right.
that's our.
Yeah. One thing we don't have we didn't have the drug problem that's in society today.
You didn't.
No.
Marijuana and that
No.
was nothing. Yeah.
No.
You knew what alcohol was.
We knew that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We knew what that was, and I guess the reason that it wasn't as big a deal back then is because there weren't as many people. There weren't as many people to drink and get in trouble. But we did not have the drug problem. I mean, it just wasn't there in '52. I'm not saying someone might not smoke a joint or something, but I mean it just wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
There.
Well,
Shortly after that, it got to
not just Franklin, but the whole
Oh,
culture.
right, the whole culture, right,
changed, and
right.
of course, Franklin reflected that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, fellas, this has been most enjoyable. Our
Well-
time's gone now. What do you say we do this again in another 50 years? I'm up for it. What do you think?
I'll be here.
Okay, I'm counting on
I
it.
hope I'm somewhere up there looking down and listening, Oh, no, it's been enjoyable.
Well, thanks a
It has
lot.
been nice.
My guests on this segment have been two members of the graduating class of 1952 at Franklin-Simpson High School, John Kelly and Charles Oliver. Please stay tuned Later in this program, we'll be talking with 2 members of the class of 2002. For now, this is Dan Ware. Good day.